Hello everybody, this is Chainsaw again. Today I'm going to be talking about how I made my Mad Moxxi from Borderlands 3 cosplay. And I'm going to walk you through my cosplay. I'm just going to show you the pieces and tell you how I made them. And then at the end I'm going to do a cost breakdown so you can kind of figure out how much it'll cost you if you want to make a cosplay similar to mine. Here's the hat. It's foam base that I modified off of like a top hat pattern I found online. It's covered in stretch velvet and cel shaded with acrylics. These are fake bullets that I had for Nico from Devil May Cry. I had a lot left over. This is made out of craft foam, the foam clay, and painted. Fun fact about these little cards in the hat, I actually made them full size, like normal deck card size at first, and then I realized that they needed to be smaller for the mini hat. So I was so lazy that I scanned them, printed them off, and then just like colored it in better with like Sharpies and stuff. So yeah, those are there. And then my feathers are made out of craft foam. They're shiny because I Mod Podged them. There's a piece of wire glued on the back that so I can change the angle and bend it a little bit if it looks a little wonky. And I used acrylics and Mod Podge and I cel shaded it. And they are glued into the hat underneath the cards. Everything's hot glued on here. So that's kind of wonky, but yeah. And then here is the wig. It's a little messy because I need to restyle it since I wore it. But the way I got so much volume in this, was that I used drag tutorials, specifically online kinds drag wig tutorials. I used his crimping tutorial to make to crimp the wig so that it just was easier to take teasing, and then I teased the hell out of the back and then pinned it up into a bun. It's kind of deflated. I might have to restyle it for the next time I wear it. But then I heat treated everything, and I used a steamer to set everything to heat it instead of a blow dryer. I need to redo all of this. And I added a stripe of white in the front because like she has a little bit of white in her hair now. Yeah, it's a little messy now, so I need to restyle it. But yeah, I put a lot of volume in the bangs and stuff. So it's a lace front from Amazon. I think it was like $36 or something. Oh, and the hat is attached with 2 alligator clips on the bottom. Here's her necklace. It's like a really wide necklace. It's just like a stretch pleather with Velcro in the back. This is all foam and a button that I like hand sanded the little loop off of. These are all made out of foam with Warbler covering them and cel shaded. Everything is glued on here with E6000 so it doesn't come off this pleather. These are shoelaces that I painted darker. I probably should have just gotten black ones, but I didn't feel like ordering them. These are actually hot glue sticks cut up and painted. I made some by hand and they just didn't look as good and as like clean. I was gonna use crystals at first, but I when I actually looked at the reference, they weren't clear, so I just decided to just paint something. And glue sticks are cheap, you know, so it'll work unless I'm like out in like a billion-degree weather and then my necklace starts melting. But yeah, it was kind of like a pain in the ass to put together, but it looks pretty good. Alright, next we have arm stuff. I'll start with the gloves. These are like $4 Amazon gloves that I've had since I started cosplaying. They're like really, really beat up, especially this one. But I thought it'd suit the look. I just painted on top with acrylics and cel shaded. Then I did the cuffs for each. So this one is made out of 10mm craft foam, floor mats pretty much. The way I organized the spikes is more like the art than the actual in-game. In the in-game, it's 2, 2, 2, 2 instead of 2, 1, 2, 1. But I actually like the way the 2, 1, 2, 1 looked better, so I kept that, even though it's less accurate. This is just a cuff that has foam in it. I didn't like do anything fancy. I just sewed it over the edge of my little cuff pattern I made, and then painted it with acrylics to cel shade it, and added this little button that's hand sewn in. these are the upper armbands. I actually made them square at first because the lack of reference, I thought they looked square, but they were not, so I had to redo them. Just stretch black pleather. I need to trim the strings off this better. And these shower curtain ring things that you can buy at Joann's Fabric. Over in like the curtain, I don't even know what that section is called, but over there. Then for the arms, I made this fabric by combining black and white stretch fabric and stripes and serging them together, and then just making a little arm tube. And then I just cel shaded it with black and white and gray acrylic paint. So then I have my fishnet arm, which is just, these like sheer fishnets that aren't like true fishnets, but are like fake fishnets are so hard to find. You can't like find any thigh highs anymore. I don't know why. So these are like actual stockings. They were like full stockings that, you know, go over your butt and over your waist. And I used 1/2 to make my thigh high that is on her right leg, and the other half to serge and make the arm. It's not hemmed at the top. It didn't really need to be, so I didn't do it. So yeah, that's all the arm stuff. So this is the dress portion. This was like such a pain in the ass because the pattern for this dress is so weird. I didn't want seams on the front in places that, you know, they're not supposed to be. The only seam should really be here and like on the sides. So firstly, I bought this bra on Amazon. I wanted a like specific shape because a lot of strapless bras have like, you know, a lot of support. So I needed one that looked more plungy, if that makes sense. It's kind of hard to find. But what I did was when I first got it, I just did all of this because this was pretty clear to see before the official references came out. I just did all the cel shading on this. And then I put the bra on with my corset, and then I did a tape pattern over like my boob area and my midriff area to get the pattern for the dress. And then I modified the pattern to add the 3 coattails down at the bottom. So after I cut out the pattern and I sewed it together, then I glued it to the bra. I know that's like so not great, but it works. I didn't want to have to try to figure out how to get my sewing needle to actually go over the bra, so I just glued it in. But it looks pretty good. And then I cel shaded it, and I actually glued all this trim on for a few different reasons. I felt like trying to sew a stretch hem or a stretch trim onto a stretch fabric was going to be a pain. Yeah, this is 4-way stretch. Is this 4-way stretch? Yeah, 4-way stretch red velvet. I cel shaded these little buttons. I made the star button out of an actual button. And then I added craft foam on top, and then I painted it and sealed it with Mod Podge. These are all sewn on. I have clear bra straps on here that I edited out of the pictures because with no bra straps it's like zero support and does not look accurate to the model. So then here's the coattails. They're like not the right sizes, but I kind of like rushed on them. So I did this kind of crappily, but I did something that's kind of nice, and I didn't finish the tops because so I can pull out. What I did was there's like interfacing in here, and I have wire glued in all around it like this, so that I can bend this to be however I want. And then I can take it out. I can take the interfacing out when I want to wash the cosplay, to hand wash the cosplay. So these are little studs that are glued on. This is dark gray, and it's on all of them. But this is dark gray wool that I cut out using a little diamond pattern I made and glued it in, and then glued the studs on. And I did like some really crappy shading in here because you can just like barely see it when I'm wearing it. I don't even know if you can see like this side at all, but you can see like this side, and like if you can't even really see this at all either. But I wanted it to be there because it shows it in there in the model. I did not finish it all the way up because nobody's gonna see it. And it's stretched, so I didn't want to. So yeah, this is this dress. There is not as much detail on the back. But yeah, I guess there's the little patches that she has there. These are just 2 fabrics I had in the right color that I did some extra cell shading on. Oh, my carpet's getting stuff stuck all over this. But yes. I did some, like, I tried doing some, like, if you look closely, like, I experimented on the back here. So don't do that. Make sure you experiment on your spare fabric. Don't be me and do that. But I did this thing where I stamped a pattern. You can't really see it that much. Can you see it on this side? I guess you can't see it very much. But I stamped a pattern onto this side and I like faded it so that I didn't have as much at the top. Yeah, you like cannot see it at all. You can kind of see it under there. But yeah, it's in certain places. Ooh, ooh. Yeah, right there. Using like a foam stamp. So yeah, that's the dress. This was the most interesting part of all because the pattern was weird. The seams are like in weird places. I had to do this like part where I added a seam where they're in the middle of the thing. Yeah, but it fit well over my corset, which is what I wanted. So yes. I probably should have talked about the skirt in conjunction with the dress. But I'm not. So I think that the dress is actually supposed to be one piece, that the skirt and the dress are like together and that these are just ruffles, but I really did not want to deal with like having to sew it into it, if that makes sense. So I made a separate skirt. It's made out of wool. There's stuff all over it. It's made out of wool. It's like a gray wool with like a little bit of brown tint to it, and I saw it at the fabric store and I thought it would be perfect because of like the drape and stuff. I didn't hem it, so what I did was I made like a giant like off-center circle skirt, and then I put it on me, cut up my left thigh to where it needed to come, and then I put it on my full body mannequin, and then I cut the appropriate shape, like the point in the back and where it needed to land, and then I went shoop, 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 all around it. I didn't hem the edge, I didn't hem the top because you can't see it. Wool doesn't really fray, so I was like, whatever, and it was like one of the last parts of the cosplay I did. I airbrushed this skirt in a bunch of places. It's kind of hard to see. I'm still getting used to like using an airbrush, so like it's not perfect. Oh, and this was actually too big. The waist was too big, the hole I cut out, so I added some pleats to the top and it actually helped with the look a lot. So, but yeah, you can kind of see some of my airbrushing. It's covered at the top, so like it looks kind of awkward. See, it looks better like that than when I go like that. Yeah, so these white swirlies are not great, but they are there. They exist. The white swirlies are on the skirt, and yeah. Oh, and it just zips up the back. See? Boop. Yeah. Oh man, there's stuff all over it. Alright. On to my favorite part, the belts. This is hanging like super awkwardly on this mannequin because this mannequin has no ass, but it looks better on me. The belts are made out of stretch pleather, brown pleather. The pleather's like this dark color back here, but I painted it, the upper belt, to be like a lighter brown because it's lighter in the reference pictures. There's a little pouch back there, and it is not a functioning pouch. I could have made it a functioning pouch, and I just decided to glue it shut because I'm not actually going to use it. It's made out of craft foam and stuff. This is made out of foam with Warbler over it. I used airbrush to add like the dirt wear on it. And then I cell shaded it. This is also made out of foam and Warbler. This I actually safety pinned under here because I couldn't figure out how to connect this to this because this is where it velcros together. So there's Velcro under here, Velcroing it together. So I just safety pin it when I'm wearing it. And then there's Velcro over here attached to this lower belt so that I can connect the belts together, not sliding all over the place. I'm actually sad because when I wore this for my pictures, I let the belt slide too much this way, like about like 6 inches too far. So like my holster was like almost behind me and you can't see all like the light details. Yeah, this is Warbler and this is Warbler. This is foam and Warbler. So I made the buckles. This is Warbler. This is connected via Velcro under here. So like I pull this out and then I unvelcro it, or I put the I'll show you when I'm done. So these light up. I have little battery packs over here. So I just go boop or boop. So I did these like strangely, and I don't know if this was a good idea yet. It looks good, but I don't know in practice if it works that well yet. So see these little windows? If I turn it off, you'll be able to see better. Whoop. Which way does it go? Oh, there it goes. I filled them with hot glue because it diffuses the light, and I like set the lights in there and then glued them over over the glue, so it like stuck to itself, you know. That's Warbler, covering foam, obviously. These are the fake bullets I was talking about earlier that are also on the hat. These are E6000 to the belt. This is one set of lights over here, and then this and this are wired together. So, yeah. And then this, I'm actually pretty proud of this. Like the cell shading I did on this looks pretty good. And I used my airbrush on this too in certain places, like down there and stuff, to add like the rusticness to it. This is just like a prop gun that I got at Spirit Halloween, and I just colored it because I was lazy and didn't want to have to make a gun on top of all this other stuff. The belts actually, I think, took like the longest. It was like surprising to me how long they took. But yeah, this should be sitting like up here, but this mannequin doesn't have a booty, so it is falling off. Yeah, so this is my favorite part. I just love the detail and how it looked. I'm gonna have to shoot it again and make sure I'm like wearing the belts properly this time. And oh yeah, there's more bullets on the back. Sorry, my mannequin broke, so I can't like, yeah. So yeah. Oh wait, I need to show you guys how it like removes. Okay, so this, oops, over here, you pull this out of here. I'm probably gonna drop it because I'm using one hand. And it's velcroed, well, it was velcroed together back there. Like, whoop. And then this right there. So this is, and I glued all the Velcro in. Well, I sewed it in certain places and then glued it in other places. So yeah. Okay, and now for the leggies. So it's pretty much the same thing as the arms for these parts. The sock I made using strips of black and white fabric, and then I overlaid my sock pattern that I've made for my own leg onto it, cut it out, serged it, and then I cell shaded it. I wish I would have used my airbrush. It would have looked better, but this works too. And then this side was from the stockings I told you about already, and I just cut a leg off, and then I put the leg on, oops, then I put this on as a thigh-high stocking, and I cut out the holes where they needed to be, which one's like above the knee and one's like lower than the knee. And then these go around the tops of the thighs. This one goes on this leg. Well, I have these backwards, I guess. This one goes on this leg. This is a belt made of Warbler foam again, and it goes floop on top of my leg, and I have like a couple extra holes in there if I need to make it tighter or looser. And then this one is, it looked very strange in the thing. I probably should have taken another strip and went over it in the middle to make it look more three-dimensional, but this is black stretch pleather with like gunmetal gray on it, so that it added a little bit more depth. And this is a stretch pleather in brown, and I painted it a little bit. So these shoes these are the same shoes that I originally used for my like original Moxxi cosplay. except completely repainted. I took off, so this is like the same trim, but it used to run up the side right here, and I like ripped it off. And, oh, if you like look closely, you can kind of see like where I removed the buttons. The most obvious spot, I think, is right there. Yeah, see that? Yeah, look at that. But like when you look at it from like afar away and you don't know that I use these, you just think there's more wear and tear on it. These were fun to paint to like add the like, whatever the hell those are called. And all the splatter. I took a paintbrush and went for all like the dirt splatters. But yeah, they had to like be completely repainted because her other shoes like covered in blood, so these ones only like had dirt on them, so yeah. And then these pieces are Eva foam, and they are slit. There's like a slit. I just threw them in there and like glued it down. So those are like sturdy, right? They're like sturdy. Yeah, so these shoes, the base shoe is like a pleaser something. Maybe I'll link it if I can remember what they're called. They were like $60 or $70. I think I got mine on sale. But yeah, these are like the perfect Moxxi shoes. Oh, I also added some foam at the top because there was like some weird extension on the top of her shoes. So yeah. Oh, and here's my microphone that I made. Well, I didn't make the microphone itself. I bought a really cheap one on Amazon. And then I painted it. This is not super good inside, but on the outside it looks good. It works too if I actually want to use it. I painted it with acrylics and it was scratching off really bad, so I added a top coat on it so that it didn't stretch off anymore. Or scratch off anymore. This is craft foam on top of there, and I just cel shaded it according to the reference. And yeah, it's super nice that I was actually able to buy a microphone this time, because when I did original Moxxi, her megaphone is shaped like a lampshade, so it wasn't as convenient for me. I had to make one from scratch using a lampshade and plumbing parts, so this was kind of nice. Here's some of the makeup products I use. This isn't all of them, just some of the more important ones, I think. For the cel shading, I used this Tarte eyeliner. I don't remember what it's called, but it's the one that has the liquid on one side and the stick on the other, and that's what I use to do all the black outlines on my face. Don't judge me, but this is Kat Von D in Polio Red. Just kidding. It's actually Outlaw, and I've had it since forever, but I'm using it until it runs out. But yeah, it's a good red for Moxxi's lips though. And then this is Juvia's blush in Bella. It's like a red blush, but that's what I used on my cheeks. And then as far as lashes go, I used Sephora Vivacious in number 34. So those were nice. And then for my eyeshadow, I use this Huda Beauty Mauve Obsessions palette. Open, Jesus. And they're like the perfect red shades for Moxxi. So like I used like the whitish for the brow bone. I used this color for like the crease, and then I used this for most of the lid and up into my brow bone. And then I used that like on my lid to add a little bit of shimmer. So yeah, I might do a makeup tutorial where I actually put it on camera for you, but we'll see if anybody actually wants that. Hey guys, it's time for the cost breakdown. I'm gonna go over how much it cost me out of pocket, how much it would cost someone who wants to make a cosplay similar to mine, and how much it might cost someone to make one on a budget. This is in USD since I'm American. Also, since this isn't exactly a beginner cosplay and is relatively complex, I'm going to skip the cost of things like foam, paint, thread, and makeup, since even most beginner cosplayers presumably already have these things. So the wig I got on Amazon for $37. It's a lace front. Any lace front is going to be about that much unless you go for a really fancy one. But if you're on a budget, you don't have to get a lace front. You can just get a long curly brown wig on Amazon, which will probably run you anywhere from $15 to $20. Next, we have the fake bullets that I used on the hat and on the belt. I already had them because I got them for Nico, so that was an out-of-pocket cost for her. If you wanted to get the same ones I used, it'd be $10, and you could easily skip this step and just make some out of like clay. For the skull on the hat, I was lazy, and I used skull buttons that I already had. If you wanted to find skull buttons, you could probably find them for like $3 on Amazon, or you could just make some out of clay and not pay any money. The cord I used in the necklace was actually shoelaces I already had, but you can find shoelaces or any kind of laces for like $3 or less. The casings I used for the necklace, they were $8 for a pack of 40, so I have a bunch left over. If you order them on Amazon, it'll be that much. If you look other places, I'm sure you can find them for cheaper. I just couldn't find any at my local store, so I just ordered on Amazon. The earrings were actually white tassel earrings that I found at Walmart for like 50 cents a long time ago, and I was like, oh, I might use these for cosplay one day. Mine are attached to clip-ons. Most people have pierced ears, so I'm going to leave out the clip-on cost. I don't really know how much it would be to find tassels out in the wild. I'd think about $3. I think I've seen them at my local fabric store for pretty cheap. If you look, you'll probably be able to find them for $1 probably for like 2 little white tiny tassels. The gloves were eBay gloves, so I already had them, so it didn't cost me any money. I'm going to say about $4 no matter what, unless you want to get fancy ones or you want to make them yourself. They could be cheaper than that. The black and white fabric that I used for the gloves and the leg, you only need like half a yard, I think, to make the strips, and that's probably about $5 for spandex, and you can't really budget out of that. You have to use that pretty much unless you wanted to buy stockings, but that would probably still be about the same cost. The red velvet is 4-way stretch velvet. It's about $10 a yard, at least at my local store, so about $15. You could use other fabrics. I highly recommend the red velvet because I think it just kind of has a naturally cel-shaded look, because of the light catches on it and also the shadows catch on it. But you could use a plain spandex if you want, so I'm going to put budget for $10 if you wanted to use a different fabric. The curtain rings that I used for the upper armbands, those are about, I think, $10 at Joann's. I already had a pack of them, so that didn't cost me anything out of pocket, and you could just make them out of foam if you wanted instead and not have to pay anything, but I just like the way they look. The white cuff fabric didn't cost me anything because I already had some white fabric laying around. I think it was a cotton sateen. If you wanted to get a similar small amount of that, it'd be like $4, and you could use another fabric, and that would only cost you like $2, presuming you buy like less than half a yard. The black pleather I used for the straps and the necklace and stuff cost me nothing because I already had it, and I only had, if you wanted to go buy like a yard, or half a yard rather, of it, it's probably about $5 anywhere you go, besides Joann's, unless you use a coupon. The brown pleather I actually did buy for this cosplay, and that cost me $10, and it's probably going to cost you about $10. I got a full yard. It's probably going to cost you $10 no matter where you get it from, pretty much. The fishnet stockings were $10. They're on sale now for $7.50, so I would recommend buying this even if you are on a budget, because if not, you're going to have to like sew fishnets to sheer tights, and that's going to spend you way more in time than it would have cost you in money to buy them. The wool that I used for the skirt and the inside of the dress was about $7.50 a yard at my local budget fabric store, so I'm going to say it cost me like $10. It didn't cost you probably about $10, but you could always budget and buy a different gray fabric and spend like $5. The bra was $20, but if you have smaller boobs, you might be able to find one for cheaper. I was seeing strapless bras that weren't as accurate, and there was many more options for people who don't wear 32G like I do. So I'd say like if you're on a budget, you can find one for $15 if you're able to. The big round buttons, I have a bulk amount of those, so it didn't cost me any money out of pocket. And it's going to be about $5 to get like a appropriate size pack of those no matter what. The yellow trim that I used on the dress, the stretched trim, I got 6 yards, and that was just a little more than I needed. I'd recommend getting 7 yards. It cost me $1.50. I'm kind of unsure. I think that the worst case scenario, it's going to cost $6 at $1 a yard. But if you look hard enough, you can probably find it for cheap at like a local fabric store. So the lining I used on the dress was $0 out of pocket for me because I already had it. But lining's pretty cheap, so you can get like a yard of cheap red lining for like $4. The interfacing cost me nothing out of pocket because I have a lot of it. It's a heavy interfacing, so if you use a coupon at Joann's and get like a yard and a half, it'll be about $7.50. And you could try to interface with something else, but I would not recommend it. I think the thick is really good for Moxxi's coattails. The studs, I have a big box of them that I got at the thrift store for like $1 for like a massive amount. But I think you could get maybe some of those studs for like $10 if you found, I don't know, you can use buttons and stuff instead, but I'm gonna say probably $5 to find something with a similar look to what I used. And you could like pay nothing because you could, you know, hypothetically use buttons or anything that is round to put in between the little diamonds on the inside. The wire I already have. It was a $5 roll of wire from Home Depot that I've been using since I started cosplaying. And there's no way really around that. It's pretty cheap. Don't get wire from the craft store. Just go to the hardware store because it's cheaper. The zipper, I already had it, but $2.50. The chain, I already had it. You can probably find like a chain off of something for like $3 or less that's wide enough. The shoes, I already had them for my old Moxxi cosplay, but they are currently on Amazon for $50. You could make boot covers for much cheaper than that. Or you could maybe even go to Goodwill and find some like higher boots and just paint them like that for like $10. The shoe trim, mine was already on those shoes. I don't even know if you really need the shoe trim. You could probably use yellow bias tape if you wanted, which is only like $3 a package. Or if you didn't even want to put the trim on there, you could just paint the trim on there if you're good enough at cell shading. The megaphone was $15. If you wanted to try to make one yourself, you could, but I think it just looked better to just have the actual megaphone from Amazon. It was nice and convenient. And it works if you want it to work. You probably need Warbler for this cosplay, but you can skip it. I already had Warbler. It was $30. It's like $30 for a small sheet if you don't want to buy like a huge sheet and have some like ready for other projects. But you could skip all the Warbler if you wanted and just use foam or clay or whatever. The foam clay, I bought like 4 from Lumens like a while ago that I'm still going through. I think it's like $20 or something to order it through Arda if you just want to order like one just to see how it goes. And if you don't want to use foam clay, you don't have to use foam clay. You can just use some other clay, but this stuff is magical. It is so good. The LEDs I used were fairy string lights that were already attached to a battery pack. I actually know how to make circuits because I have a background in electrical engineering, but it is just way easier to buy these and stick them in than it is to make a little circuit. I feel like you should only be hardwiring if it is like a super custom light up project, if that makes any sense. But if it's just a simple like one light doesn't flicker or change colors, just buy these fairy lights and stick them in there. So for me, out of pocket, it only cost me $127 because I had so many of the supplies already. For someone who's paying out of pocket and doesn't have any of like the cosplay specific supplies, it'll cost around $331.50. And for somebody who is going ultra budget on everything, it should only cost about $151. So that's it for this video. If you liked it, like it and subscribe, and I'll be back with a new video soon, probably. We'll see.